Megan is an Emmy Award-winning makeup artist and a licensed cosmetologist. She specializes in commercial production, bridal, and special event makeup. I love that you're so diverse in your skills.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important to kind of diversify, especially in a market like Michigan, where you're not going to make all of your money from one specific thing. Like in the winter, there's not much bridal, and there's not really enough commercial work for most people to make that their full-time job. So I try and do a little of everything, and I feel like that kind of sustains you throughout the 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. We tell our students that for sure, which is why our master program is so popular, because that's exactly what we say to them, is that you really need to be diverse if you're going to stay local.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So tell us, where did you get your training? Was it mostly MAC?
So I started like a long time ago. I've been in the industry for about 20 years now. And when I was in high school, I would always just kind of do everyone's makeup. But at the time, this was like pre-Instagram, pre-YouTube. So I didn't really know that being a makeup artist could be like an actual job. As funny as that kind of sounds now, I just knew I had a knack for it and liked it. So after high school, I went to cosmetology school to get license for hair. And I did like doing hair, but I just kept going back to makeup. And when I was in cosmetology school, I was hired in at MAC. Yeah, and then I worked there for 5 years, and that's really where I got most of my training.
Yeah, that's great. And, back in the day, I remember, everyone fighting to really get into MAC because they only allowed so many people. It was back when you could go to Toronto and train for a couple of weeks. Of course, they don't have that anymore, but it was really the creme de la creme of training. So that was definitely something to be said.
Yeah, I think I got super lucky too, because it was my first makeup job. And I mean, my first, quote unquote, real makeup job. So I think there's a little luck too that happens along the way.
Absolutely. I would say right place, right time, right place, right seat for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So take us back to when it all started. Like, when did you have this burning desire to become a makeup artist, or did you even know that was a thing?
I didn't even know that you could really do that. So, I mean, I would just play around. We didn't have much money growing up. And so for Christmas, though, I would still ask for like a $50 blush. So, and that would be like my entire, like basically Christmas. But I would just rather have like one expensive item makeup wise than anything else. I was just like always loved makeup and doing makeup and then trying on makeup on other people, but I always just kind of thought it was like a little hobby of mine. I would just play around in my own face, but then once in a while, people would be like, "Hey, can you do my makeup? Can you do my makeup?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay." And it just evolved from there, really. So, and then I went to the cosmetology school because I was like, "Well, I can't be a makeup artist, so I'll do hair." At the time, is what I thought, and I was wrong. So,
yeah, but still good. Do you do any hair now?
I do light hair. If you're on commercial sets, as you know, some light hair is usually required, especially in Michigan. So like flyaways or, business casual kind of hair, like mom buying a Ford hair. I don't do bridal hair. I feel like that's really a specialty. I'm still licensed though. I keep up my license. So
yeah,
technically, yeah.
I think that's always a good idea because nobody wants to go back through the testing anyhow.
No, it's horrible. It's so boring.
It was boring, and I felt like I read the questions. I have my aesthetics license, and I read the questions, and I was like, did I learn this? Like, brown eyeliner is the best color for what eye color? And I felt like, well, that's subjective. Yeah. How can I, and that was a right or wrong, or, you got that right or wrong, and it counted against you if you didn't get it right. So
it's so bad. Yeah, I felt like a lot of the questions really don't pertain at all to real life, which is unfortunate. Which is very unfortunate.
100% the book. But anyway, so at what point then did you figure out, okay, I can make this a full-time gig? Did you ever end up doing hair, or you went right from cosmetology to doing makeup?
I assisted for hair at Palazzolo, which is still there. It's not the same place I was at, and Emile, which is also still there. And they were really great business owners, but I just felt like hair, like I just didn't, I don't know why. I never really went down that road. And I have friends who've pursued doing hair and they're doing amazingly well. They're super successful and they love it. And that's great for them. I just kept coming back to makeup. So I was at MAC for 5 years, then needed a change. I went to Chanel for a year. And then during all of this, I finished at Wayne State. And just, to have that, I guess, to fall back on, because I was like, well, I don't want to be in retail forever. I love doing makeup, but retail's hard. The hours are terrible.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know about the commercial world or the bridal world. My mom never wore makeup. I didn't know that people paid a lot of money to have their makeup done.
Yeah.
It was like a concept, which sounds so funny to me after, working in cosmetics for so long, that I just really didn't know about the commercial world or the bridal world. And no one really tells you either. Or at the time they didn't. They weren't like, oh, do XYZ and, this is how you make money and, makeup artistry. So
I completely agree. I was in the same trap, and I actually just did bridal. I never even knew commercial existed until, I don't know, 10, 15 years into my career.
Right. They don't want you to really know that. They don't want you to, kind of fight for some of the jobs that are going around sometimes.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it was like a secret little cult. I mean, if you didn't know anybody that was in it, you weren't going to find out.
Right.
It's so much different now. I mean, my school being a great resource when you go through our program for that, for leads, right? And connections. It's so different. I mean, when students say, well, why should I go to school versus learning myself? Well, it's not just the education we provide, but it's also the connections, because think of how many years it took you to find those opportunities.
Right.
Newer artists now have no idea how much easier it is with Facebook and LinkedIn and social media, any kind of social media platform. You can just about reach out to anyone.
Well, and that's something that changed too, was that all of that was evolving as the years were going on. So while I was in MAC, I, found out about Model Mayhem. I don't know if you are or were on there.
Yes.
So, and, I was younger at the time. So it's like a place where a lot of developing talent could get together. And slowly the information started trickling to me that, people paid for things.
Oh my gosh, I know. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, and still now there's Instagram and Facebook, but it's great, for young people people starting out to build their portfolio and hook up with a photographer, a model, and, makeup artist, put that stuff out there, put it on social media, start building your port. My port in the beginning my portfolio was, really bad, but slowly you eke your way up, one shoot leads to another, and then you slowly climb the little ladder to where people will actually start working with you.
And it only really takes that one great connection to honestly launch your career. And then that's it, that and having a great reputation for being on time, being sanitary, being talented. I would say that I am glad I'm out of the loop, as far as, continuing to provide cosmetic services, because I can't believe how talented these girls and guys are now. It's wild. And I think the advantage, of course, is YouTube and Pinterest and all these things that show inspiration. And then also just, I don't know, they're coming out with this innate talent. So I am glad I'm not in the running with some of my students that have graduated, or even, talent that we see now that's a little bit younger, because they are really amazing.
Yeah, well, and it's just a totally different world. I think that they're so knowledgeable, so young too. Even when I was in high school, I mean, I wore a little concealer and a little mascara and lip gloss, but no one even had anything else. People didn't even get their makeup done for prom, or, you might get your hair done, but at least I'm just saying it in my experience, it was very different. Kids are so savvy now. Not kids, but young people coming up are so savvy now. And they just are so knowledgeable.
Well, the whole industry has changed. I mean, there isn't an event you don't get your makeup done for now.
Right.
I mean, and surely not. I mean, there was back in the day. I think you and I are close in age,
Mhm.
and I think that back in the day, it was not uncommon for somebody to do their own bridal makeup.
Oh,
I mean, it was not
absolutely.
uncommon. Now it's like unheard of. It's
Unheard
like
of.
immediately, oh, who's going to do your hair and makeup? I mean, it's just not even a thought. And I know when I had clients, it was, you started with their bridal makeup and then it was family photos or engagement or, baby shower. I mean, it just went on and on and on, all the events they wanted their makeup done for.
And
So,
especially now too, branding sessions, because everyone needs a website. There's so many
oh yeah,
freelancers now, LinkedIn, everything. People really want their image to be what they want it to be. They want it to be look great. And yeah, it's just makeup artistry is huge right now.
it is. And I think, it's been celebritized. What do we, wait, how do you say
Celebrity
that?
ties.
Yes. I mean, it's the Beyoncés and the Kardashians and,
Hmm.
and then all these makeup lines that have come from celebrities. This is just like huge. The biggest I've ever seen it in my life. So let's go back to um, when did you know you could make a living? Like, was there a time where you're like, okay, now I don't have to like waitress or do this or do that or whatever it was as side jobs? Because I know we all had side jobs till we figured it out. When did you know, okay, I can absolutely make a living and I don't have to have a side hustle?
That would have been around 2012. So in 2010, I had my first son. So I took a little time out for him. And then I just came back and just hit the ground running. I was living out of state for a little bit, but I had moved back to Michigan and I just started trying to connect with everyone I possibly could. Even though I'd only been gone for about 3 years, like so much can change. And, people, when you're gone, people will find new people and circles change, etc. So I was just trying to meet every single person I could, connect with every single person I could, completely relentless. And I also learned lash extensions just as like a little side thing, which no one was even getting back then. Groupon doesn't really work now, but at that time in 2012, I ran a Groupon on myself because I really had a lot of time on my hands too. And I sold 112 in 1 week. And that like made me insanely busy because then my lash clients would want makeup and then I would just
Yeah.
meet so many more people too. And that just, grew so exponentially just from that one little area. And then Instagram also got really big at that time. And just, everyone I was just really, really trying really hard to connect with was, all of a sudden, I feel like everyone just got really, really busy. And ever since then, I've been, knock on wood, fortunately, very busy. So,
That's great. So, are there any pivotal moments in your career that really changed the course of your journey as a makeup artist? Like whether it was connecting with somebody or a certain job or maybe, a celebrity makeup gig, was there something or maybe just something personal, something internal that you just, personal development or discovery? Were there any moments that really stand out that kind of change the trajectory of your career?
yeah, like, I mean, I feel like there's been a few. So, and I feel like all of these moments kind of helped me, but if they hadn't happened, maybe something else would have happened too. But, there was a photographer who is known, she's extremely talented, but also can be, very critical. And so she would go through my book and be like, this one's terrible, delete it. This one's terrible, delete it. This picture's awful, delete it. And she was right. Because too, a bad picture can really drag down your portfolio. So that kind of helped me get to the next level. And she would be like, you should connect with so-and-so, other makeup artists and who are busy. And she would be like, because they'll refer you work and then you can refer them work. And she taught me to really kind of be strategic that way, not use people, but just, be smart. Like, send jobs to people who will refer you jobs back. I know it may probably seems very simple, but I was like, oh yeah, good idea. Doing the show, the Dr. Nandy show, that was great because it was a huge production and I was fortunate enough to win an Emmy on there. So that was really cool. There's been so many things. Like I got to do a wedding in Greece That was like amazing.
Wow.
And I've got to meet some really cool people. I got to meet Kamala Harris, like for the CNN debates. There's just been so many like really magical moments with like really great people that I'm so, I love what we do, and I just feel so fortunate to have been able to do any of it, really.
Yeah, that's great. So were there any, I think you're talking about Mary. Are you talking about
Yeah,
Mary?
I didn't want to say the name.
Well, we don't have to say last names, but
No,
I
she's
knew that's who you're talking
no.
about because she is super critical to a point where it's almost I
I
don't
get it.
know,
No, I get
borderline something. But I would agree with you 100%. I actually, my last headshots that I had done, I went back to her because I know she's a
Yeah.
perfectionist. And that was just probably like a year ago. I mean, so yeah, I think it's about building your network is really essentially what you're saying, giving
Mhm.
jobs to people, and you're getting, building your network. It's not about using people at all. I mean,
Yes, building your network is a
that's
much better word. So
yeah. Yeah. No, I think that I think our audience knows too. That's what you were saying. It's just about networking with people and, building that and taking care of those who take care of you.
yeah.
That's really how you build your business.
Well, and at the
So
time,
any,
go ahead. Oh, well, I was just gonna say at the
nope.
time, Tammy,
Yeah.
you probably know Tammy was doing a ton of, working a ton. And Mary was like, you have to get in with Tammy, get in with Tammy. And so, as a makeup artist, it's kind of hard to break in sometimes with other artists because, sometimes there can be some backstabbing and cattiness and whatnot. But I worked on her and then, I wore her down and then I would send her jobs too. And eventually she helped me kind of get into the more commercial world. And, she was
Yeah,
Korean,
absolutely.
so she'd give me some good advice as well. So
That's great. So Mary, kind of a mentor, right?
yeah,
Because
huge.
definitely
Yeah.
helped you build. Anyone else that stands out that was, a really that go-to person, or maybe they don't even know, they didn't even know that you were their mentor, but somebody really took some had some takeaways that helped you develop your career. Anyone in particular?
Renata, you probably know Renata too. Yeah, she helped me hugely. She's not on social media, but we had worked together at Mac like way back when. And so, she's another one. We would bounce jobs back and forth and refer things, commercially and bridal and all of that stuff. So yeah, there's been, a few. It's probably too many to name. I don't want to leave anyone out, but those were, probably the big ones when I was starting out would be Mary, Tammy, and Renata.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And it seems like you probably had a little team within a team. Um, just with the four of you, because I know once you feel comfortable referring somebody, they're professional, they're going to hold up to your standard. It gets really comfortable, and those are kind of, they continue to be your go-tos.
Yeah, definitely. And then you want to pay people back who, send you work. So you kind of become tighter that way.
So when do you feel like you finally reach success? I mean, and success is measured in so many different ways. Some people it's monetary, some people it's work-life balance, some people it's, having a celebrity on their resume. What or when did you finally say I've arrived?
I feel like that's kind of a moving target because there's been I've hit certain milestones like, in 2012 when I was able to, afford my house and my car and have, a little money left over. That was really big to me, that financial comfort. Um, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. Like, this is my job. I don't have to worry that if I, miss a week or something that I'm going to miss my house payment or something. Like, that was really big to have that freedom there. Because if you're not making money, then you can't really devote as much time to, your artistry as you would like to. You definitely have to be able to pay the bills, first and foremost, that security. And then after that, every time I would get a big job, it's kind of like a huge thrill. Um, just kind of keeps you going too, because there's definitely down weeks and, disappointments, or, you think you may get the celebrity and then they, cancel at the last second and you're totally devastated. But then something else will come along and it'll perk you back up again. So, and I feel like I'm still maybe not where at the top where I'd want to be. I feel like I want to keep working, and, I feel like the best is always yet to come. So I like to think that there's still, more achievements ahead of me. Another milestone is probably being able to turn down jobs. So that's a big one. Like, the jobs that aren't bad, but maybe a little boring, like some corporate work and whatnot, that I can like say, no, I'm okay. Don't need to take that. I can book enough jobs.
Absolutely. So tell me, what is your most recent? I saw that you were with Dr. Nandy for a
I
while.
was. We stopped shooting though because of COVID.
Oh, will that pick back up? Or
I think so. It's been like almost, it's been over a year. So, but I'll still too, especially during the COVID times when, basically there wasn't a whole lot going on. I like to repost things just to, there's such a demand for content. So I like to repost some of my clients. He's still a client of mine, but even if we're not shooting, I still like to share things. So hopefully we shoot again.
Yeah. And your business website is meganmurphymakeup.com, right? Instagram handle Megan Murphy, and it's Megan with no
Correct.
H, by the way. Megan Murphy _makeup. I highly recommend for our listeners to follow you. You have a great story and a great journey. I also just want to leave our listeners with one last piece of advice from you. If you had one or two things to share with them that would help them along their journey. Sometimes it can be discouraging, right? When we have those, like you're saying, those disappointments. Mm-hmm. Sometimes financially it is a struggle until you build that network and that portfolio. What piece of advice would you leave for our listeners and our students to help them along their journey?
To stick with it. Definitely stick with it. Be nice to people. Be on time. Be responsible. I mean, there's so many makeup artists now that you don't want to be the one coming in hungover, a wreck. You really want to be professional and someone that can be counted on. And try and keep the personal information to a minimum. Just, take in a lot when you're there. Observe as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. Again, I hope our listeners follow you on Insta, check out your website. And I'm so thankful that are you still working then because of COVID?
I am. We actually just did something for Gucci, so that was fun. Gucci was in town.
Oh yeah.
I did a music video for Rice to 5'9" that hasn't been released yet, but he has like 1 million followers. So there's really cool things that come into Detroit. There are. So
that's awesome. Thank you, Megan, for your time. Thank you for inspiring our listeners. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And absolutely. We will connect again, see what you're up to, maybe in 6 months or a year, and give us an update on what's happening in Michigan.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Bye-bye.
Bye.